What is up, you guys? It is your boy, the Powerful Swordsman here, aka Bankai to the motherfucking Tensho. Today I'm going to be telling you the full story of certain characters. This is going to be the full story of Senran Kagura for the Ryo sisters. When I say Ryo sisters, what I mean by Ryo sisters, when I say Ryo sisters, is basically Ryoki, Ryona, and Ryobi. I honestly just call them the Ryo sisters because literally the three of their names start with Ryo. So, you know, Ryobi, Ryona, and Ryoki. Honestly, I felt like talking about the three of them because I feel as though like these three sisters deserve like a lot of respect. Like these three sisters are very special in the Senran Kagura universe, man. And I just want to talk about it honestly. But let's get this shit started. It basically starts off in Shinobi Versus. Ryobi and Ryona were first introduced in Senran Kagura Shinobi Versus, and they started off at Gesen Academy. And they were the two twins, the youngest twins, where their sister Ryoki is the oldest. Ryoki is basically foreshadowed in Senran Kagura Shinobi Versus. The only time we ever see a picture of her, but we don't see her face, we just see her body. But she's a little bit foreshadowed as we see a flashback photo with Ryobi, Ryona as kids, and Ryoki just holding their hands, basically. The three of them are holding hands together. Ryoki is basically, as I said, she's the eldest sister, and she always took care of Ryobi and Ryona, and she's like more than a sister. She's almost like their mother, but yeah, she is the eldest sister of the three, and she'd always take care of them. Now, Ryoki started off at Gesen Academy after she passed the entrance exam and all that stuff, and what happened is that she faced off against Miyabi, and it was basically like one was fighting because she wanted, like Ryoki was fighting because she wanted to prove that Yoma at least deserved to live in this world a little bit. Like Yoma can't be killed. Like there must be another way to kill Yoma and all that stuff. Like there must be another way to like do this without having to kill Yoma. And for Miyabi, she said that all Yoma are supposed to be killed. Like all Yoma have to be killed, and that is the way of the Shinobi. And what happened is that Miyabi used the full power of the Blood Riot, and she went literally out of control. And with that, you know, what happened is, let's just say it didn't go very well. Ryoki came home as a corpse to the sisters, and after that, you know, Ryobi and Ryona later on get accepted to Gesen Academy. And the truth is, what they want to do is they leave Gesen Academy. They want revenge for their sister Ryoki coming home as a corpse. And honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you, to see their sister come home as a corpse is one of the saddest things ever, man, especially at their age. And what happened after that was Ryobi and Ryona wanted to leave Gesen Academy. They left Gesen Academy in order to go to Hebijo, which was an evil Shinobi Girls Academy. They wanted to take revenge for their sister's death. They wanted to take revenge against Miyabi for the death of their sister, who they think Miyabi is basically they think Miyabi killed Ryoki when she actually went out of control. The truth is, Ayoma had already killed the Kagura ranked ninja and other Shinobi as well, and including Ryoki. And they don't really know the truth about it yet. So, you know, everything is chill and all. The new Hebijo girls are trying to get their shit together. Miyabi wants to bring Hebijo back to the top, and Imu's right there with her. They get Murasaki added on the team, and Ryobi and Ryona, they later on join the team as well after facing off against Miyabi and them in a little test to see if they're worthy to join Hebijo. So they managed to get accepted by Miyabi and them, and phase 2 of the revenge is like in motion. Like the first phase went pretty well. They got into Hebijo. Phase 2 of the revenge began, you know, facing off against Hanzo and others. You know, after all that, everything went pretty well, and it looked like, you know, Miyabi even said to them that they're almost like, Miyabi even felt as though like the new team is like family to them. And then only later on for Ryobi and Ryona to carry out their revenge now, because the final phase of their revenge was getting started on how they can avenge their sister, and they were getting close to taking down Miyabi. They were getting close to getting their revenge, but before they could even take their revenge, Suzune, or Rin, their sensei, ends up telling them the truth of Ryoki's death, and what really happened. Miyabi went crazy out of control. As I said, Miyabi went crazy, and after everything that happened, Ryobi and Ryona choose to not believe it. They choose to not believe it because they're already carrying out the final phase of their revenge, and they still believe that it was Miyabi that killed Ryoki, when it wasn't really Miyabi who killed Ryoki. It was Miyabi who went out of control with the blood riot, when Ayoma had already killed Ryoki and all the other ninja, even the Kagura leveled ninja as well. But after all that, Ryobi ends up trying to snipe. Ryobi tries to snipe Miyabi. Murasaki takes a bullet for Miyabi, and after everything that happened, Murasaki dies, ? She's still alive, but it causes Imu to awaken the root of calamity and take down Ryobi and Ryona later on. And Miyabi ends up, with the power that Miyabi had, she ended up stopping Imu after all that. And Ryobi and Ryona apologize because all of them wake up in the hospital and stuff. They end up apologizing. to Miyabi and them because they had already known the truth, because Rin had already told them. They just didn't want to believe it at first. But anyway, they all wake up in the hospital. Ryobi and Ryona apologize to them. Miyabi forgives them. And the new Hebijo girls are family again. That's where we finish off with Shinobi Versus, but the two of them, I'm just saying that because the two of them were first introduced in Shinobi Versus. Ryoki was foreshadowed in Shinobi Versus, so that was when Estival Versus released later on, and Ryoki was finally playable in Estival Versus, and Estival Versus starts off with the two, and this time, it's not Asuka and them who are the main protagonists and all that stuff. They are usually the main protagonists and stuff for all Senran Kagura games, but this time it's not focused on them. It's focused on Ryobi and Ryona as they walk to the late grave of their sister. And what happens here is they walk to their late sister's grave, and what happens here is they see her being brought back to life by Sayuri, Asuka's grandmother. And what happens is they try to stop Sayuri, but later on, and they didn't try to stop Sayuri. They ended up going after Ryoki, their sister. And what happened after that is she was later on brought back to life. She was brought back to life for the purpose of the Kagura Millennium Festival. Basically, the Kagura Millennium Festival lasted 8 days, and the whole thing about the Kagura Millennium Festival, it is mostly to keep Shin at bay, mostly. They said it was to keep Shin away a little bit more, to give Asuka and the others a little bit more training to prepare them for their upcoming fight against Shin. But it was mostly more than that. This Shinobi Festival, the Kagura Millennium Festival, was mostly about destroying Shinobi platforms and all that stuff. But it wasn't just that. It was mostly basically all the dead being brought back to life. Like, not all the way brought back to life. Ryoki was the only one brought back to life, but it was also to help you communicate with your dead loved ones. So Yumi and the rest of her Gisen friends, Yumi, Murakumo, Minori, Shiki, Yozakura, got to see Kurokage, got to hear Kurokage's voice again a little bit, so they were communicating with their loved ones. And Miyabi with her mother and all that stuff, her mother was killed by Ayoma. Her mother was killed by Ayoma, and Kurokage was killed. Kurokage just died on his deathbed after pretty much all of that. And then I think there was also the promise between the Mikadoga sisters and Kagura, that the next time they see Kagura, because they wanted to find the little girl who was actually Kagura in her little girl form mostly, and what they had promised to do was meet the Mikadoga sisters. Like they said, we'll meet you again when we'll meet Kagura again when we become Kagura ranked ninja, which they still have not become yet. But this whole Kagura Millennium Festival was all about Shinobi platforms, communicating with your loved ones as well. And this whole festival lasted 8 days. And Ryobi and Ryona are all, the reason why I say these two are the main protagonists in this one, because it all started off with the cutscene of those two walking to their sister's grave to deliver the flowers and stuff and pay their respects. And it mostly ended, now here's where I'm gonna get to the point of why these two are the main protagonists of Senran Kagura Estival Versus instead of Asuka and them. The only characters who didn't have any loved ones to think about in this game was Asuka's team and Homura's team. Those were the only two teams. The rest of the teams had things they had to work out with their loved ones. But what happened was Ryobi and Ryona, now they got to reunite with their dead sister, who was brought back from the dead after everything that happened. And the thing about this is that Ryobi was having problems. She had a little problem in the past that she had with their eldest sister Ryoki. And the thing that she had a problem in the past with was how she told Ryoki that she wanted her to die. Yes. How could you ever say that to your eldest sister who's been taking care of you since you were kids, And Ryoki says she didn't mind. She remembers, but she didn't mind or anything, because the truth, I can understand why she said she doesn't mind, because she loves her sisters so much that she wouldn't say anything horrible back to them either, even if they hated her for anything. But Ryobi hated that she didn't feel anything after she told Ryoki that she wanted her to die. And it pissed Ryobi off to the point where she just ran away after that. And it was Ryona that lifted her spirits back up and, challenged her to a little showdown, just to, get her to fix herself and all that stuff, make her feel better and all that stuff, later on to forgive Ryoki. And, after all that, the final boss of the whole Estival Versus thing. This is the main reason why I say that these two are the main protagonists. The reason why I say these two are the main protagonists, Ryobi and Ryona, is mostly because these two had a lot of things to work out with their sister more than any of the other characters did. I feel as though these two were the main protagonists, mostly because of that, and mostly because Ryoki ended up being the final boss in the game. But basically you just pretty much defeat Ryoki in her other side of the form, in her other bad side form. And after that, Ryoki goes back to the world of the dead, where everyone goes, where they die. So Ryoki was only brought back for the purpose of the Kagura Millennium Festival. Basically, as I said, is the Kagura Millennium Festival is where, mostly where some of the dead come back to life, and for this little purpose, but it's also for you to communicate with your loved ones too, who have died long ago as well too. And Ryoki coming back was a huge example of this. But honestly, Asuka and them, I feel as though they weren't the main protagonist in this game. It had to be Ryobi and Ryona, because these two had to work out a lot of things with their sister. They never got to say anything to their sister when Ryoki was brought home as a corpse. Ryoki never got to say anything. She never got to say any last words to her sisters when she died and all that stuff. And she was defeated, she was killed by a Yoma and all that stuff. And if you want to see more of that, if you honestly want to see what happens, and how Ryoki died in Senran Kagura, your best bet is playing Senran Kagura Burst Renewal, which was released in 2018. Play Senran Kagura Burst Renewal, the Abyssal DLC, and you'll pretty much see everything. You'll see all the events, you'll witness the events, you'll literally play in the events of everything that happened, with Miyabi facing off against Ryoki and the Yoma attacking and all that stuff, the whole Yoma invasion shit, and how Ryoki died, and saying how she won't be able to, go back to see Ryobi and Ryona, and that she loves them. That's why I honestly think that Ryobi and Ryona were like the main protagonist of this, instead of Asuka and the others. That's one of the main reasons why they never got a chance to say goodbye to their sister when she was brought home as a corpse to Ryobi and Ryona. That was honestly, her being brought home as a corpse to her own two youngest sisters, who she loves so much, was like literally one of the mostly saddest things ever. But that shit scared the hell out of me, bro, when you see that shit in Senran Kagura Shinobi Versus. But we later on see ourselves in Senran Kagura Peach Beach Splash, and honestly, Peach Beach Splash is not that much to say. Ryoki was brought back from the dead once again, just for the Peach Beach Splash thing. But she was brought back in the climax, or close to the end of the final story and stuff. And she was also the final boss, DJ Ryoki. Like, you literally defeat her, and that's pretty much it. But I don't think that Ryobi and Ryona were the main protagonists in Peach Beach Splash. That was pretty much just regular and stuff, because Ryoki showed up as the final boss later on at the final chapter. She wasn't shown in any of the other chapters chapters except for the final chapter. But Estival Versus, I feel as though Ryobi and Ryona are definitely the main protagonists. I've talked about this with a friend of mine who was in one of my Senran Kagura streams, and he totally agrees with this. They definitely are the main protagonists of Estival Versus, because it starts off with them walking to their sister's grave, and it also ends with the two of them facing off against Ryoki in the final day of the Kagura Millennium Festival. And I honestly I gotta say, the fight between Ryobi and Ryona against Ryoki was very amazing, mostly because I don't think they've ever even gotten, I don't think this was like, I mean, this isn't the first time that they've sparred with their eldest sister. They also sparred with her during the beginning of the Senran Kagura Estival Versus game. So honestly, I think it was a very amazing match. You know, it was like it was almost like a life and death match, because Ryoki was in that other form of hers, and honestly, it was kind of very amazing. I kind of liked the fight between the sisters, because they never really got to say anything to their sister when she came home as a corpse. And I just feel as though it was good for these two sisters to face off against their eldest sister, because it also shows how strong they've gotten as shinobi. And even though they're no longer in Gassen Academy, they're in the new Hebijo. Honestly, I feel as though like they've gotten a lot stronger there than they've gotten a lot stronger at Gassen Academy. I think they're much stronger, and I think they belong in the new Hebijo Academy, than being in Gassen. And honestly, that's pretty much all I can say on the Ryo sisters with Ryoki and stuff. Through all of that, through revenge and all that stuff, Miyabi forgave them. We got into Estival Versus, and I feel as though these sisters should be mentioned more. That's pretty much all I can say about the Ryo sisters. It started off with a path of revenge and all that stuff. They couldn't really go through it at first. They had second thoughts about doing the whole revenge, and Rin telling them the truth. And that's pretty much all. That's pretty much all I can say. Like, that's how far we've gotten with Senran Kagura with the Ryo sisters. And yeah. But other than that, you guys, if you want to see more Senran Kagura talk, subscribe, man. Subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more Senran Kagura lore, bro. So if there's anyone who doesn't know that much stuff about Senran Kagura, you've come to the right channel. I'll give you all the info you need. Other than that, it is your boy, the Powerful Swordsman, aka the Bankai to the motherfucking Tencho, signing out. I will see you guys later.